Hey guys, good to be here for this week's labs update. So we're doing a lot. You may have noticed we just published, well, coming out kind of today, two session releases. So we have an Android release and an iOS release. So the Android release, I talked a few weeks ago about that we were trying to improve performance, and I said that we had rolled out a release. We did do that, but we only rolled it out to about 10% of the Play Store users because we were trying to get feedback on whether these crashes that we were trying to fix were actually fixed for a majority of the user base, and also to get some performance feedback from a few users as well. So the early results of that looks good. We have made a few changes and published a new release today, which is rolling out to 100% of users. So people have been waiting for those performance improvements that should be coming through, and there's also a lot of crash improvements, especially around messages pertaining to calls, like voice and video calls. So yeah, that should be really good for Android users. On the iOS side, we just published a new release which basically just deals with a few smaller bugs that were coming up here and there. And you can read the full patch notes for those two releases on the GitHub pages. Kind of goes through all of the issues that they fixed. On desktop, we're still working on doing a release. We have a few things that have been in pull requests or merged for the last couple of months. But we haven't done a release yet. So we're doing a release now. We're just trying to get that through QA. We had a few building issues which have kind of delayed it a little bit. But we're still working on the three main things, which are an overhaul of closed group messages, an overhaul of disappearing messages, and an overhaul of configuration messages as well. And that includes a bit of loop session integration at the same time, because closed groups and configuration messages are being brought into the loop session util library so that they're consistent across all the platforms. So on Oxen Core, we're basically working on Wallet 3, and that means adding in ONS transactions. So Sean is now working on that, making really good progress there. But he's been pulled aside to do some audit work and stuff for our financials, so he isn't working 100% of his time on Wallet 3. On LokiNet, we are continuing our focus on refactorization. So Jeff is working his way through particular parts of the code which are either messy or hard to understand, and refactoring those to make it easier to understand, easier to add features in the future, and also for people to get onboarded onto LokiNet easier so they can understand what's going on internally too. And he's been working alongside Dan, and a few other people have been working alongside Dan to get him integrated into libLokiNet, so he can understand what's going on in there, and he'll be working on libLokiNet for the foreseeable future while we're basically getting libLokiNet ready to integrate with Session. There's still quite a bit of work to go there, just because we need to fix up a few of the performance and reliability issues before we bring it into Session, but we're working on that pretty diligently right now. And that includes documentation. Dan's taking a lot of documentation as he gets onboarded into the system so that anyone who future comes into the team, or just people who want to understand the protocol, external contributors, will have this documentation to rely on from someone who has spoken to the team about every aspect of LokiNet. So yeah, we also had a little bit of push notification server stuff going on. That's kind of related to Session. We want to change the way that push notification server works a little bit. And we're also replacing some of the libraries to communicate with Apple push notification servers specifically. So we've been making some changes over the last week with that. But yeah, I think that just about wraps us up for this week. I'll throw it over to the marketing team for the next section. Thanks, guys.
Hey guys, back again for another marketing update. So this week we had a huge focus on the Oxen docs. So we've been making changes and updating old information and just getting everything up to scratch, from where we are. We've also been focusing a lot on the Oxen and Session facts because we're prepping it essentially for all the new improvements that we'll be bringing to the docs that will all be coming within the next coming weeks. So you guys will see that. We've also been working really closely with Chris on bringing you guys the new updated roadmap for our project for this whole year. So that's been exciting, and we're keen to get that out to you guys soon. Alex and Kee have also been continuing their work on the session whitepaper version 2. It's coming to the home stretch now. It's almost there, and pretty soon we're going to be able to get that white paper out to the public to correctly reflect how the project has changed in the last couple years. We also dropped the latest session tapes, which you can go check out. We did this one a little bit differently as well. We did this one as a live Twitter space. So we were hoping to tap into a larger Twitter audience of session. And you guys can go check that out. We'll put the link in the description. It's on the new session YouTube channel, which I know has generated some chat in the community. So I'll kind of just briefly touch on the reason for the split, which is essentially, when people go to subscribe to a channel on YouTube, they generally subscribe to something that they understand that they're going to get. When you subscribe to a channel, you kind of know the type of video that you're going to get before you subscribe to that channel. Because we had 3 different projects going into the one place, it's very confusing for someone to get an idea of what they're actually subscribing to, what kind of content that they're going to get. So that split was a necessary thing that was always going to happen once the different brands have matured more, and it's just something that we've kind of had to just pull the trigger on now, especially now because we're focusing a lot more on Oxen this year. Oxen is going to have a very, very much more focused and more of our attention, and we want to make sure that like the Oxen channel, when people come to it, they know exactly what they're going to get. We're going to try and fill it full of project updates, updates about the company, deep dives on the particular projects, and so just by splitting it up, people are going to know exactly what they're subscribing for, and hopefully we're going to get more subscribers because of that. Also, we've been continuing UI UX work on the onboarding, and on top of that, we've also been creating brand new copy to make the onboarding easier to understand than ever before, and we've also been finalizing the deets on a new conference that's coming up, where we're going to have a bunch of talks, at least one panel discussion. It's going to be an exciting one, but can't say much more on that now. There'll be more information to come on that front. I think that's pretty much everything for me this week, and I'll catch you guys next time.